Hey, this is the Nature Boy Rick Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
So Ariel Helwani has started up a lot of shit, and it's not his fault. It's just that, you know what? Sometimes his comments can be very explosive when it comes to who is being involved on it, or whoever he has on his show, or even something he might say himself. And, you know, it's going to be something about several of the moments he has had on his MMA Hour that have caused some comments to be made. And hell, it's not even his show. The Pat McAfee show is also kind of given that kind of feeling as well, because, you know, tonight, as the wrestling community, the wrestling Twitter, wrestling X, wrestling TikTok, all these people out there, the tribalism is real. It's strong. It's rampant. And what's happening now is that some people have the mentality, like some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, they need to still make sure that WWE is put in the best light. Because they feel like, well, the fact that an inferior company like AEW and the people within it, or the people that were in the company, they are petty for trying to jump on the coattails of the more dominant company. Now, what's been happening tonight, specifically, the CM Punk footage that was shown, the CM Punk, Young Bucks, Jack Perry footage, the all-in footage from Wembley in London, occurring after the pre-show match with Jack Perry, where they used the glass on that car, right? Real glass. So the Young Bucks, in an angle, use it to go ahead and go after FTR. And the way that it made the angle look is fine. There are some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren that want to go ahead and question the timing of it. Okay. We never had to go and see this footage at all. Of course, some people are going to be happy because the footage is out there, because I think as journalists, they think, well, everything should be transparent. No, it doesn't have to be. We never had to see this footage. But when Ariel Helwani asked CM Punk about the situation at all, and the reasons, the issues that created the reason why CM Punk was fired by AEW, and why Tony Khan let him go, CM Punk decided to go ahead and spin the history as it was. And tonight, remember, without his name being mentioned, a friend of FTR, okay, because FTR is the focus of the angle, the Young Bucks are trying to focus on that. They said their eye was off the ball after this incident with their friend. That's it. But some of my fellow podcast wrestling brothers, some of those in the wrestling media, they want to go ahead and pin this out and say this is petty, this is shallow, this is hollow booking, and what a shitty way to go and use this to book a match for a Dynasty. You're entitled to that opinion, but you're wrong. I'm going to disagree with you. If not for CM Punk's comments, this wouldn't come to light. And this isn't done immediately after. This was not hastily put together. What the Young Bucks did actually was pretty poignant and thought out. It was fleshed out before they decided to do this. People want to complain, oh, where's the security footage? Where's the audio? It doesn't matter. And better off we don't have that, because we don't need to know the context. The body language says everything. And more than that, it's the actions. Did CM Punk take the first punch? Yes. Did he choke Jack Perry? Yes. Did he also try to take shots at other people backstage? Yes. CM Punk was the one violent actor in the whole thing going on here. He was the agitator. He's the one that provoked the fight. He's the one that started it. And that's it. Do you want to go ahead and litigate, oh, why wasn't this handled earlier? Why didn't we talk about this now? Why are we talking about this 8 months later? Why did CM Punk have to answer the way he did? Okay? For what everything that's going on right now. Okay? Even tonight when Will Ospreay made some comments that were not direct, but indirectly made at a comment that Triple H made. Okay? That was on tonight's Dynamite. And Will Ospreay got a chance to talk on Dynamite because he was getting ready for his match on Dynasty with Bryan Danielson. But I wanted to make one comment before. A question was asked about rumors going around that he is afraid of, quote unquote, the grind. And Will Ospreay said he wouldn't address things like this, but he's doing it because of the person who said it. And he shouldn't be talking because he got to where he is by grinding on the boss's daughter. And that's what he said. And what happened was, in WrestlingNews.co, I'm going to give them credit on this, of course, comments were made on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN by Triple H about certain individuals not wanting to take part on the grind in WWE. If that's the case, then he doesn't want them. And the comment was widely believed to be many about Ospreay. And there are others, I'm sure, that would say the same thing. And so the fact of the matter is that Triple H, for his comments on, Pat McAfee, that's fine. What he basically said was he wants the type of people that Vince McMahon would want, that will do the 300 days a year. He doesn't want the ones that are part-timers or only work a certain limited schedule. Right? And that's all it really was. And that's okay. I understand that part. And Will Ospreay, decided to go and come on and talk about it. Fine, that's fine too. So he made his point across. He made it clear. But it was done after Triple H made his comments. What is so wrong with wrestlers? And okay, yeah, they're putting on TV, but it's very veiled. It's indirect. And it's just making a point of, the fact that he just came in as a free agent. Okay. There's relevancy to what is being said. Relevancy to why the Young Bucks showed the footage where they could see clearly it was CM Punk that provoked and created the provocation. And remember, let's not forget that he already had a previous incident before at Full Gear. So again, several events that force CM Punk to be fired, okay? Enough egregious events for him to be terminated, for his contract to be terminated. I'm sorry. And I thought the escalation that they actually had was what's worse than this. What I saw was, okay, this got extinguished pretty quickly, right? But this kind of thing, especially on their biggest show of the year, yeah, why not be upset about it? And they kept it under wraps for 8 months. But then CM Punk, on another brand, during WrestleMania season, decides to bring this up. So AEW is not allowed to go and say a word? See, that's the thing. When those fans that must defend to the hilt the WWE bubble, right? The bubble fan, the fanatics, they must stick to this point. They must defend at all costs. For some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren that decided to jump the gun and speak on this before the footage even was shown, I'm sorry, that's just premature. I would never do that. When I heard about the footage, I didn't say comment one. I didn't even put anything about it. I'm going to wait to see what the footage is. I want to wait and see what the Young Bucks are going to say. And when I saw it, okay, they validated why they did it. And they used it for an angle. A pretty decent angle for their match at Dynasty. If you don't like it, that's fine. I understand that part. But I don't mind what they did here. Taking reality and using it into a storyline, okay. They didn't call out CM Punk. They didn't call out Triple H. They were only brought up because AEW was brought up. And the fact that they decided to put it on TV, why not? How much TV time did it take to do all that? Okay. No matter what, the Young Bucks segment took several minutes to get through, and then we see what happens here. Okay. And what, about 2 minutes of the security footage? And then we move along and we get the storyline. And we get FTR's response. And here we go. Match set in a week and a half. And they set it up pretty well because of their previous matches with each other for the AEW World Tag Team titles. But everyone is in a huff and frothing at the mouth Because, oh my God, look at all this shit right here. Let's just enjoy WrestleMania for what it was, the last 5 minutes, which, you know, if you want to make that the reason why it was the best WrestleMania ever, fine. Listen, I made comments about the show on my post show. I do 2 post shows for WrestleMania for both nights. You can find them right here, kingofpodcasts.com. Take a listen to them, please. And if you find them on the YouTube channel, would love for you to go and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Please do. And all I said about it was, you know what? There were certain matches that were filler. And I've been on a rampage about what this company needs to do going forward to make sure that everything goes right for the future of this company. That WrestleMania offseason, this momentum they have right now on a fever pitch. You got 2.5 million viewers that watched the Raw after WrestleMania. We'll talk about what they did on that. They did a really good job. And as for what they set up with NXT, that's another thing too. But for what they did overall and the way the storyline was played out for Cody Rhodes and now what they're going to do moving forward, it's great. But that still doesn't take away the fact that there needs to be some more things need to be done to build characters, build stars, and they cannot live off the stars that have been made by Vince. You don't like me saying that, but that's just the actual fact of the matter. But some fans are not going to be mature enough to understand what I'm saying. This is where there's also a breakdown for those that have been watching wrestling for 40 years like I have. You know, and I don't have any, you know, I don't have a bone to pick in this fight. Okay, I'm not one of those people that's a super fanatic that goes to every show. I watch on TV and I watch the pay-per-views, okay? I don't buy a lot of merch. I'm not relegating on nostalgia all the time. I'm not watching like old shows and streaming old crap. Like I'm not doing any of that. I'm on the current trajectory. I'm not some extra historian or anything like that. I know what I like. I know what I enjoy on TV and what I enjoy to watch. And I've said it during the WrestleMania coverage going back a week ago and during the WrestleMania coverage. As I said, I've always been a fan of a lot of other brands besides World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling Entertainment. But I can respect and appreciate the top brand that has always been the top brand for as long as I've been watching wrestling. I know that for a fact. That's fine. I've been there to watch them grow all the way to the top. What they did at WrestleMania this weekend, bona fide, by far, no doubt about it, when they get the credit from me, they're going to get the credit and the praise because they deserve it. They pulled the best WrestleMania ever because you know what? The way you finish that main event over 2 nights, excellent. I want to be fulfilled more across the rest of the lineup. And I want WWE to be able to do what the WWE does. I don't need them to be professional wrestling the whole time. I want them to be sports entertainment. I want them to be able to build characters and develop them and create gimmicks and create larger-than-life characters and make me interested in them. I don't want them to be just another professional wrestling brand with a bigger spotlight and a bigger budget. I don't want that. And for that sake, I don't want Triple H and his team to do that. There have to be certain things, and listen, the 5-year plan, he wants to make a different feel of this company. Fine, Triple H. Get that. But you cannot sway away that far from Vince's vision. You can absolutely not do the things he did wrong. I agree with that. But that does not mean that you need to go and come in here and think you're just going to create another wrestling promotion. Okay? You're not creating a WCW, not creating a World Class, you're not creating a UWF, you're not creating a Mid-South. This is a worldwide company. And, the way you change the intro now, right? The opening to all your programming, you make it look like the Marvel Avengers or DC Comics, the DC Universe. They're larger-than-life superheroes. Your stars need to be showing that. And by the way, okay, the Carry On Crosses and the Final Testaments of the world, or the Ilya Dragunovs, or think about it. Some of the stars you want to position and make them, a big deal. Your Braun Breakers, you need to make them larger than life. You need to make them even bigger than reality itself. They need to be larger than life. Like almost to the point of cartoon-like characters. Like they are characters. They have to be characters. If they are at least, somewhat attached to who their real personas are, but they need to be characters. They just can't. They need to be blown up versions of themselves, because that's what's going to work, and that's what this company needs to go and worry about. And so for AEW deciding to go ahead and make their comments tonight, it's one thing, and all of you can go ahead and complain about it, bitch, whine, moan all about it. But they're allowed to go ahead and say something. And I, for one, don't think they did anything. This is not WCW, okay? This is not Eric Bischoff. I don't think that's not Eric Bischoff thing to do. By the way, for some of you out there that think that, oh, you're going to base everything on what previous promoters have done, what Eric Bischoff would have done, what Paul Heyman would have done, all right? What David McClain would have done. I get that. You all want to go ahead and worry about or Bill Watts, or, whatever. Or Jim Herd. Like, stop. Or Dusty Rhodes. I mean, enough. Let's just leave it as it is, okay? WWE, what looks bad on them for saying what they said? So Triple H made his comment. He's right to say it. I don't knock him for wanting the best of the best. And if Will Ospreay doesn't want to work that schedule because he wants to be able to work where he wants to work around the world, and not be behooven to that bubble that is the WWE, that's why. See, the thing is that everybody doesn't understand that, there are other leagues out there. There are other places to be able to go and ply your trade, ply your living. And just because you want to be at this team, right? This is why there's a mentality of like underdogs and favorites, right? Or the teams that are like, Super Bowl champions, and those that are like up and comers and the underdogs. And I've always been a fan of the underdogs. And I'm sure a lot of other people that watch Pregnant like I do, they also like that. Or we just like a different type of wrestling because of where we came from or what we watched. The problem is that the standard, atypical, the WrestleMania fan, the guy that was on, the guy or gal that was on Twitch streaming and going gaga over everything that was going on, like for every entrance that came out, for Jimmy and Jay coming out during Cody and Roman's match, for John Cena coming out, for The Rock coming out, for Undertaker coming out, and going gaga over it. Yes, I get it. Those same fans, some of those same fans, I won't say some, but most, not all, but some. And those are my podcast wrestling brethren that will be on here on YouTube, or they'll be on their podcasts, or they'll do whatever they're going to say, and they're going to go ahead and rant. They're going to be the same ones that want to run Vince to the ground and just throw him away. The same ones that want to shit on AEW and not even like pay attention to any other company. Like AEW is the company you want to shit on, and all the other ones are inferior. We're not going to talk about the GCW, MLW, NWA, TNA. We're not going to talk about any of them. Fine, you can do that. Because some of you just think, oh, well, you want to take those stars that ply their trade on other promotions, but they only matter if they come to your brand. But I'm sorry, they're square pegs you're not going to put into a round hole. Okay? They don't fit. And it's okay if they don't fit. There's a reason why there's, sometimes it's the number one company of whatever. And there are secondary companies that do a really good job, right? Put it to you like this. Fast food's a great example. KFC. Everybody likes it, or everybody should like it. It's like there's a certain thing about it, whatever. And then Popeyes, number 2. But a great number 2 brand, right? I mean, it's like that. Okay, so let's say, I don't know. How about department stores? Well, let's say Walmart, right? Well, not everybody likes Walmart. People like Target. That's okay too. It's quality. It's good. But it's like, there's just something about, if there's certain brand names or just something about the people that they are all about, because the problem is that some people are just very simple-minded. They just want to be able to watch everything on one TV show or one brand or one platform. They don't want to watch on other platforms and go to watch some other inferior talent, right? Just to watch the one talent they want to see. And if they're going to catch anything at all, they'll catch it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and they'll catch clips of this art, this talent, and they'll say, I want them on this brand because they would look great on this TV show. They would look great with these people. I get it. But it doesn't work that way. And for some of you fans, this is where your immaturity comes in. This is where you're not smart enough to realize that's just not the way the world works. You feel like there's like an entitlement, right? And that's always been an entitlement amongst WWE fans, right? Because, I mean, WWE is always like they can always get anybody they want to come to a company because they've shown that in the past. But it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to break it down to you like this. Kazuchika Okada or Will Ospreay, right? To have that talent come into this company, into AEW now, full time, you think that, because we saw him in Ring of Honor, you see him in, wherever other promotions, TNA or, New Japan. But the thing is that you think that we could just take those stars and bring them right in. But you know what? You also got to think about who are the stars they brought in from before and how did they play? How did they go in? How were they treated when they came in the door? But we don't even want to think about that. Let's think about this. Shinsuke Nakamura, Kushida, it's like, think about this. Shinsuke Nakamura, Kushida, two great examples of this Japanese talent at the highest point of their game. Two of the biggest names at Wrestle Kingdom. And then what's going on with them? It's like, you bring them in, Kushida is like in and out of things in here, right? Throw him in NXT, don't even throw him on the main roster. Of course they can't. Because he's a square peg in a round hole. You're not going to fit him to the main roster. And Will Ospreay, I don't think would have been a fit either. Oh, we need to put him in there with Ricochet and make him work out. No. I know what you want. Because you always hear the comments from like a Dave Meltzer. Oh, look at Ricochet and Will Ospreay. Look at all this where this match was like such a 5-star match. Well, why? It doesn't matter because it didn't happen in WWE. So you think that way, you get that mindset, that process in your head, and you're like, if they don't have it, it doesn't matter. It's like it never existed. It's like how WWE indoctrinates people. They kind of brainwash people with the idea, any of the wrestling companies, they'll do their revisionist history because they don't care. All those documentaries they did on World Class Championship Wrestling, the story of the Von Erichs, or WCW, or ECW, yeah, that's all revisionist. It's not the real story. Some of it might be true because of who might be in the company right now, but honestly, they always do that. So you're used to the same fact of what WWE feeds to you all the time because things are just a certain way. It's not any different with Cody Rhodes coming into WWE, right? But Cody Rhodes, for him's credit, he's an example of somebody that came back into the company. But remember, look what he did to come into this company, to come back without what he did in AEW, without all that he did outside of the company. Because when I talked about this night 2 coverage, and I talked about where Cody Rhodes and the legacy of him making this victory and be able to go ahead and finish the story, I don't know a lot of other wrestlers that would come back to the company. Sure, we had Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, great examples of coming back to the company with chips on their shoulder and be able to become champions and prove themselves as they had been thought of before as chosen ones. Deemed by Vince McMahon. And they proved themselves. And good on them. But when it came to Cody Rhodes, it's a different story. This guy actually was instrumental in starting a competing promotion. He wanted a revolution. He wanted to start a revolution. All Out was that revolution. It's going to be all in. I do it all the time. All in. And then you come in here, and then he decides to come back. And look at what he did for him. Like they did amazing for him. But compared to what he had to go through, he was champion in other brands. NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, Ring of Honor World Champion, worked Impact Wrestling, right? He worked everywhere else. Worked in New Japan. This guy was out there. He made himself a bigger name than he was. And then more than that, he became a pillar of what is All Elite Wrestling. That company does not happen without him being involved. Okay? And now here he is. And now he's the damn world champion. He's the top guy in WWE. Who'd have thought he would ever been able to be that guy? But You have to be a certain type of guy, a certain type of modus operandi, a certain type of momentum, a certain type of enthusiasm, a certain type of excitement, a certain type of character, of personality, to be one of the best baby faces we've had in decades. I will say it like this. He is as big a baby face, or maybe even bigger right now, than John Cena or Hulk Hogan. That's how big a baby face Cody Rhodes is right now. He is but without a shadow of doubt in my mind, the choice to have Cody Rhodes be crowned Universal Champion on Sunday night was the right choice. Waiting 2 years, the right choice. They're not going to lose any momentum with him being champion, because I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about who's his next contender. And one of the next nuggets they put in on there on Monday Night Raw is The Rock is going to come back and face him, no matter what there is. And that's a hell of a story they're telling right there, especially when I saw the clip that came out about The Rock being champion again. And Cody Rhodes, when he still had the mustache, wanted to hold the belt. And says 13 years later, I'm going to become World Heavyweight Champion. What? What? Or WWE Champion. They actually played that story out. What? And they did. And quite commendable, man. I don't even know how they pulled that off, but like, there's actually a lot of backstory to everything that goes on with the Cody and The Rock. According to the backstory also with their family, which was well said, might have taken a long time to get there, but hell, we were all attached to it, and 3 million people, right, which is about 1.3 million people, more than would be normally watching, they were all enthusiastic fans like myself, watching Cody and The Rock lining it up. But we're going to get to Raw after WrestleMania. I'll get to that in a minute. But now, let's play the comments. Incendiary as they might be to you fans out there. From an MMA Hour, Ariel Helwani on Monday made some comments that obviously stirred some feathers. Wrestling News CEO putting this on their Twitter feed. I want to thank them for that. Thank you for their coverage as always. I watch them, I read them all the time. So they pulled this clip, and here it is from the MMA Hour, Ariel Helwani talking about WrestleMania and the Cody Rhodes victory and AEW's influence on it.
You would know that I always try to champion the cause for the other leagues, right? Because it's great for the performers, for the fighters, for the wrestlers, for the talent, for there to be competition. It's good for my business. It's good for their business. It's always better for everyone. And I will say this, and I hope they hear it and chill out just a little bit. And if not, it's all good. Last night doesn't happen, and last night isn't the success that it was, and the moment that it was, and the moment that will be remembered from now until eternity, and one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time. It does not happen if not for AEW and Tony Khan.
I mean, you want to dispute that statement? You want to discredit it? Forget about, let's take Tony Khan out of the picture. Let's just remember what Cody Rhodes has done leading up to this moment. I followed along, and all of us did. Like, we've been following along the AEW ride again since 2018. And we look at what is happening here. And Cody didn't have to come back to this company. He could have been content to be AEW champion, right? Even Sting deciding to go ahead and work at AEW and retire there. And they retired him in grandiose effect. Think about it like this. So Sting could have gone back to the company. Could have gone back to WWE, right? Because he had gotten injured after getting hurt working with Seth Rollins, unfortunately. But, you know, Sting didn't want to work with that company. He wanted to work with AEW. Cody Rhodes could have done that. Ric Flair couldn't just handle the fact that we worked with WWE and he got retired in 2006 or 7 or whatever it was, or WrestleMania Orlando, which was in great style, but he wasn't ready to go. He still worked at TNA for a while. Hell, decided to do Ric Flair's last match, do a pay-per-view for his own. Because he wasn't ready. He didn't want it to be them. Mick Foley wanted to continue working on afterwards. But think about it. Like, everybody all did that. It's like, Not all these players wanted to go ahead and be a part and say, okay, they're going to just stick with. But Cody decided to go back. And he's one of the few that would decide to go back. But for him, there was the upside because it worked out for him. I can't knock that part. And Ariel Helwani's right. I like the fact that, that's why I like him on here at the show, because you know what? He asks good questions. He's excellent at what he does. Listen, I think he does a great job. And I like that he's actually pretty much down the middle. He's not beholden to any company. He knows, just like I do. We talk about the WWE a lot because they are the top company. And AEW, we talk about them a lot because they're the second best company. And there are times I will talk about the other companies when they're doing something because I will. Right? And so the idea is that, you're all worried about how WWE looks bad in this light. And like, you're taking away the damper from what WrestleMania was. No, we're not. No one is. AEW is not taking credit for WrestleMania. See, the thing is, some of you guys take this so literally, and it's not. I just think the fact is that, you know what? Cody Rhodes decided to leave that company that he helped to build. And now he's in WWE once again because he wanted to go back. He wanted to fulfill his legacy there. And I applaud and I appreciate that he decided to do that. And that took courage. That took guts. He's got a lot of support behind him to do that. And I'm one. I'm happy he did it. Because I wasn't sure if this was the right move for him. I was very skeptical. You know that. He decided to go. It was the right move. Ultimately, it was the right move. They did right by him. So if there are some stars that want to go work in WWE and feel like they're going to be made inferior, no, there's exceptions to the rule. I think Daniel Bryan was pushed very well. It took a long time to get there, and I think AJ Styles has done pretty good working over there. I thought Samoa Joe was handled pretty well over there. But Samoa Joe's over here now. He's world champion. I like the way he's booked right now. I like where he's being positioned. Adam Cole decided to leave. Well, that's because he wanted to. And there are other stars that decided to also go ahead and, we'll switch back over. Andrade. Okay, he feels like it's a better thing for him to go back over to the other company because he didn't feel like he felt he was being used well. Fine. And that's okay. Like for Andrade, it does make sense for him because you know what? Down the line, there's a lot of Lucha Libre stars to be caught in that mix. And he was, there's a lot of good talent over there. He's going to get lost in the coverage. As Ingo Bernabé, yeah, he's getting lost in there with Roosh and Commander and Lucha Brothers. I mean, yeah, I get it, man. I understand the reason why I would go ahead and kind of just like switch out and go back, because also things changed over there in the company for WWE, but like it's still a behooving upon Triple H to be able to book him well. Attaching with the whole LWO, like out of the Phantasma thing, we need to get out of that. I mean, Andrade needs to be used differently. Come on. That's just... There are some stars that they already have so much, personality, so much character capital that's been built into them, so much time invested that WWE did, that Triple H has been a part of. Let's not lose the fact of what you did there. Like Andrade's back. You took all that time in NXT to bring him in. Let's start rehashing him again. Let's do something more with him. And let's make sure we get something good out of this. And the thing is, with some of the others, you just can't bury them in factions like Final Testament with Karrion Kross. I don't know. It's not working. It's not working for me. Now you're going to move him to NXT. You demoted him. Karrion Kross and Final Testament got buried in the Philadelphia street fight to Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And Snoop Dogg is laughing all over the place about picnic tables and hey, boo-boo, hey. Like, come on. Doing Yogi Bear references from the 60s. And people are laughing at it. And I said to myself, this guy was horrible doing the Roy Jones, Mike Tyson fight. He's not funny. And for somebody that thought it was funny, man, I guess your sense of humor is a little bit dated. That's okay. That's fine. If you enjoy it, that's good for you. But man, that's like, who got the joke? That's the other problem. How many people are old enough to even know who Yogi Bear is? Just saying, man. Maybe I'm being a little nitpicky, but that's okay. I'm like, let's get a little more current in the references. Remember how we used to complain about JBL having like dated references all the time? Same thing here. Snoop Dogg is old man. Older than all of us. But everybody wants to just like make him like a sound so left. Listen, he was a good musician. Okay, good rapper. Great. He wants to sell weed. He wants to sell cannabis products. Great for him. So, drinks, whatever, do his, Pee Wee Football League, whatever he wants. Yeah, go right ahead. Do all the other stuff you want. You want to go play Joker's Wall? Go right ahead. Don't put him in my wrestling. Give him something else to do besides putting him on commentary. No more commentary for him. Please. Never again. So let's get back to Ariel Helwani and let's get the rest of his content. More context to his comments. Let's do that.
It doesn't exist. And so I hope they take great pride in that. And I hope that people recognize that part of the story is integral to this part of the story. And if that part of the story doesn't exist, this part of the story doesn't get finished. It is so important to recognize that, because when Cody Rhodes leaves, he could just be floating in the wind. He could just be some indie guy. He could be some guy fighting over in Japan or competing in Japan. He could be some guy just kind of bouncing around. If not for him leaving and meeting Tony Khan and them with the rest of the guys starting AEW, he does not become the talent and superstar that he becomes, and he doesn't become sought after by WWE to come back and do all of this and have this moment yesterday. It doesn't happen, because when he left, he wasn't this guy. He was.
Thank you. Ariel Helwani makes a great point. Let's not forget this either. The Cody Rhodes that we have right now, the American Nightmare, the gimmick, the personality, all of this was when Cody Rhodes was in AEW. It has not deviated from that at all. His music, the entrance is a little bit different, but still, it's still the Cody Rhodes of AEW. And by the way, that's the other part that I really am like amazed by. But of course, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren can't help but say this. So your top guy, the top guy now in WWE, is a guy that you used to shit on because he was in AEW. Just because he was in AEW. Just because he was a part of AEW. Listen to your thinking. Think about that. And tell me that's okay. Tell me that's normal. Tell me that's not being delusional. Because it is. This is the part of tribalism that really gets to me the most. Like, okay, I'm not going to complain about it because it's just going to be there. It's social media, man. People are just going to go ahead and, cesspool in there all they want. That's the part of social media I can't stand. This nitpicking, this recess, bullying and fighting and bullshit. I don't play into it. I don't care. And for others that do, that's why you don't listen to this program, I'm sure. And if you even run by this program, you probably just shit on me anyway. That's fine, whatever. Welcome, join the club. It doesn't make a difference to me. Old King of Podcasts hasn't changed my mind here. I've been pretty consistent with my comments all the way going on here, okay? Some 840 episodes, okay? I'm doing this for 12 and a half years. I am consistent with my comments. 11 and a half years. But either which way, everybody can go ahead and comment however they want about this and feel upset about it. And people can feel upset about what CM Punk, or what that CM Punk's going to look bad now. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But let me go ahead and finish Ariel Helwani's comments, and we'll get back to CM Punk in a second. And we'll finish this whole point here. We'll talk about Raw after WrestleMania. Let's go and play the last 30 seconds of Ariel Helwani's comments.
Was nowhere near being this guy. He had to leave to reinvent himself, to build up his confidence in order to get to this point, and he only does that in large part due to what was built with AEW. That's why it's important that the AEWs of the world exist, and it's a testament to their presence in this business. And so I hope they recognize that and appreciate that and are proud of that. But in the end, he is not there anymore, and that's just business, and that's life, and he got to have that moment, and what a freaking moment it was.
Now, know that I want to put this point across too. Remember that there's just sometimes that what WWE decides to do with a character, with a star, no matter how talented they are, what their idea, what their vision of the star might be, might not work. Okay? Sometimes it doesn't work. Think about when Christian was around and he left and went to TNA and we create Christian Cage. Okay, he created a completely different persona for himself. And you know what? I'm sure there are some people that they didn't really notice it, but Christian was always kind of like, the back seat. And he tried to change himself up. And you know what? Something to be said about Christian Cage when he decided to go in and become, wasn't his gimmick the instant classic, right? And then he comes in 2005, he comes into TNA. Of course, yeah, they put the NWA World Heavyweight Championship on him not too far after. He's accompanied there with AJ Styles for a while, right? And there's like all this going on with him, building him up. And the heel persona that he created. And he had great matches with it. He did a lot of stuff over there. And then some of that rubbed off on his character. So he became World Heavyweight Champion when he comes back to the company. Back to WWE, right? And then when he decided not to keep working with him because he's just older and, kind of like past it, he goes to AEW. That's the reason he's there. Edge the same way. He's kind of past it. It's like, okay, if he's older, but they want to work with older stars like them. So, okay, they're going to move along with somebody else. Fine. And that's what they decided to do. Or they just didn't want to pay him because, they want to have stars that are going to be out there that can do the full-time grind, as Triple H has said. Drew McIntyre, he was 3-man band. And so, by leaving and going out to be Drew Galloway and getting himself over again, more than ever, then everything changed over there, right? I mean, think about it. Drew Galloway got himself over, and basically, the persona he came in as Drew McIntyre coming back once again took some attachment from what he was in TNA. Even LA Knight right now is attached to the TNA persona that he has. These are all gimmicks that were not created more or less by WWE, right? With Bobby Lashley, they brought him back in after he comes from TNA. And for a while, they started booking him in correctly once again. Doing the stuff with the sisters. Remember that part? I forget who it was. It was it The Miz he was dealing with? I forget who it was that he was in that first set of storylines, and they started using the stuff with the sisters, and it was just a dumb thing. But like I said, then Bobby Lashley, they figured out, Hurt Business, Almighty, they put MVP along with him, and it all changed. And what was that? Oh, that's what they did in TNA. The Beatdown Clan. Oh, and it worked. And so WWE is smart to say, hey, for themselves, sometimes we don't get it right. And when somebody comes back to us, maybe a little bit of what they took, we could take some of that away and use that character and put it in here. Because maybe some of their gimmicks, maybe some of their ideas just don't work. And that's okay. They're a big company. They can make mistakes. And let me put it to you like this. What about some of these stars that we see sometimes now that they moved on to other companies, right? But they're still kind of stuck on the same, gimmick they were. Let me give you 3 examples. Heath Slater, or, Heath. I got kids. They still use that thing, and he's still teaming up with Rhino because he's over there. But that was the WWE gimmick, right? It was just kind of a joke player. And so he's just there, and he gets to continue that gimmick. Khan, he's no different than, Patrick O'Brien, right? Oh, yeah, Conor O'Brien, right? And he was part of the Ascension, which was, at the first time, was a really great start when they did that, but then they changed it. And then sometimes certain stars, they just go ahead and go back to what was working for them first in the first place, right? Like Mr. Anderson was the same thing too. He kind of took his gimmick and took it somewhere else. And it worked for a while in TNA, but I was and then wherever else, he just kind of faded out. EC3. But for him, it's okay, well, he changed his whole gimmick, and then he decided he wanted to go ahead and rebel against the gimmick they gave him in in the WWE where like they took away the real Ethan Carter, the third gimmick, and the EC3 gimmick kind of just like changed. And then he evolved it back to something more of his own liking. And now he's NWA World Heavyweight Champion. So good on him. But WWE can be prone to make some mistakes, but they don't make that many. Like, obviously, they're doing some good with what they have right now and some stars they have. And I'm talking about just certain things that happened during Vince's time, right? When Vince was there. And whoever else in the creative team had ideas for it. So, this is not a new story for WWE, right? They just got to figure it out. They just got to get it figured out and just figure out what they're going to do to get some of these other stars over. You got some great young stars now that you're looking to go and push up there. You wanted to go and showcase some of them on the Raw after WrestleMania. You put out Roxanne Perez, which, by the way, you can book her into the main roster now. I mean, you got to wait and see what this heel persona fleshes out now that she's in this persona, which is good. It's working. So let's just move along with that. Fine. You got Tiffany Stratton, who we haven't seen much of since WrestleMania. So, like, okay, let's go and get her back into the mix. Jade Cargill, who you're really booking very slowly and shortly. And it's as if you're not doing much to change the character. Like, you're kind of just leaving her as like as a babyface offshoot of her persona in AEW. I'm not sure that's going to work. As I said before, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Bianca Belair, they need to be doing something more with those stars. They got 3 great women's stars right now that should be getting a lot more time. Meanwhile, Liv Morgan's back, and now she's the one going after Rhea Ripley. So that's the latest thing there. They set that up. Fine. And they wanted to give Chelsea Green something to go and put out there. Good fodder for Jade Cargill. Just have another squash. All right. Fine. And as I made the point, Shinsuke Nakamura and Ilya Dragunov. So I remember I went to use the bathroom after the whole Cody, Rock, Triple H, the whole 45, almost an hour long segment, right? And then we get to the match with Dragunov and Nakamura. I didn't realize it was going to be like a cough. It was going to be a cup of coffee. So Dragunov comes in and squashes Nakamura. I mean, I'm sorry, but this guy was effing IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Was like the king over there, Wrestle Kingdom, one of the biggest names there was. What have you done to him? What have you done to him? And I don't understand the change of that. And I'm like, oh, what is that? And it's a shame. Besides that, seeing Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest out as champions, I love that. I just want to see who Damian Priest is going to have when it comes down to it and what they're going to decide they're going to do. Obviously, they already have Jey Uso ready to go and take him on for the World Heavyweight title. Fine. The R-Truth appearance in the middle of that Judgment Day segment, that was a laugh out loud. I mean, damn, that was so well put together. That was funny as shit. Love that. Love it. It was like, you can definitely, that's the moment you're going to go back and watch over and over. And then when they did the setup for the number 1 contenders match, Bronson Reed, nothing there. Nothing. Oh, big guy out there to wrestle. But man, there's nothing to this guy. I don't know, man. I want to believe he's kind of like a Bam Bam Bigelow type, but he's not. There's just something there where it's I just don't feel it with this guy. There's nothing to him. It's just there. He's just a wrestler, which would work anywhere else. Drew McIntyre, well, him and CM Punk, the whole setup with that, they're still setting that up really well. I mean, listen, I don't give a shit, whatever. CM Punk's not going to get reprimanded for going over here, but he doesn't look good now that we know that what's going on. Hopefully he told the truth about what happened, that whole incident to the brass when he decided to get the new contract to come back in. Because that's going to look bad. I mean, internally that's going to look bad if he didn't tell him the truth and that security footage came out and they realize, oh, this guy's a cancer. Look what he did. CM Punk's better has to watch this piece of cues, right? Ricochet, of course, they always kind of keep him around the mix because he's just there. And that's fine. One of the things I didn't even bring up yet that has already been talked about during WrestleMania time, which is shocking to me, but I shouldn't be surprised. But people need to be paying attention. You want to talk about the acquisitions that WWE didn't get, right? So they didn't get Mercedes Moné, they didn't get her back, and now she's got some mystery opponent that's going to be going after her before Double or Nothing, whatever that is. We don't know who the mystery person that attacked her during her interview was tonight. But people wanted to find out, is she really going to wait until Double or Nothing? Well, I guess not. Now they set up an angle for her already, so she's not going after the title right away. She's got somebody to take on. My guess is Britt Baker. We haven't seen her or Jamie Hayter in a while. So I'm going to guess it's one of them. One of those two. And I would love for it to be one of them. I think it's Britt Baker. Maybe Saraya. Maybe. But I'm going to guess guess either Saraya, Britt Baker, or Jimmy Hayter. I'm going to guess it's Britt Baker. And that would be a great way to bring her into the mix right now. I would love that. We don't need to bring her in right away for Dynasty. We don't have to do that right away. But I'd like to see that. More than the free agency of Will Ospreay, more than the free agency of Kazuchika Okada. When WWE decided to go ahead and pick up Jacob Fatu, let me tell you something. That's a genius move. He's made for that. He is built right ready for the bloodline. Damn, can I see Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu as a tag team and put them as tag team champions. Oof. Or just put Jacob Fatu out there and just, and honestly, there goes your Uso. Fatu comes right in and him and Sikoa, like, I mean, tell you, you build the bloodline right back up. And even if Roman Reigns is taking time off, introduce Jacob Fatu. He is just a Samoan, just as Usos as the other Usos. He is. I mean, you want to talk about a big guy, unlike a Bronson Reed. Jacob Fatu, he's flexible. He can move. He's got himself in shape because he was a bigger boy before trying to hit those moonsaults like he used to go and finish off matches. Like I said, man, when you pay attention to him, he caught attention at Ric Flair's last match. Him and Josh Alexander, like I was saying when I saw it on the card, I was like, the fuck? You gave us that match? What? And Jacob Fatu was great. And he's been great. And you know what? Yeah, his run at MLW, I understand that they decided to go and stop. It's okay. MLW's been fine. They brought back Contra Unit. They got Cesar Duran. They got Selena Durrenta back. So glad to see her back. And, you know, they're doing just fine. Alex Kane's champion. They got all things set up. Like, they're doing okay. MLW's just fine. They're doing just fine. Matt Riddle gets to be Matt Riddle again. He doesn't want to be on scooters anymore and having dinosaurs and parrots and all sorts of stuff coming out of his feet. Got it. You know, some places just better places for other people to be. That's all there is. But Jacob Fatu, man, keep an eye on that. They said he signed. We haven't confirmed, but there's enough reports out there that say that otherwise. He's now with WWE, right? And let me tell you, that's a guy that can make an immediate impact. Do not put him on NXT. Don't do it. Get him with the bloodline. Attach him with the bloodline. As a prospect. He needs to work his way. He's from the family. Bring him in. Because he's made for it, man. He is he fits right in with the bloodline. And that's the kind of guy I think that would work very well in that company. That's strategically well done. And he's not going to come overly expensive right now because he's got to prove himself. He knows, I mean, he's had interviews already where, you know, for him to go ahead and be able to work with his family up on this brand is a step up. It's a step up. I don't think he's that far away from where Solo Sikoa is right now in terms of development, in terms of character. I'll tell you that too. Talk about your new set of Wild Samoans. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Forget about it. The Samoan Werewolf, let's go. Let's go. And I would love to see how this all plays out. This is wonderful. And by the way, great thing for Jacob Fatu, because I remember when MLW did the whole story about him, he came out of prison. He had a whole lot of stuff going on, trying to figure his life together. And all the credit, by the way, to Court Bauer. Court Bauer, hey, you got Alexander Hammerstone right now in TNA. He made his move up. Same thing going with Jacob Fatu. made in MLW. And let's not forget the almighty prospect, the prize that came out of MLW, MJF. Who, it's amazing when everybody wants to go and shit on this company, on AEW, and their ratings, they've been meager. They've not been great. They've been hovering under sub 800,000 viewers, right? Collision's taking some hits. Rampage is taking some hits. But you haven't had MJF on TV. I mean, we haven't had him. You're building new stars in there. You're bringing in new talent. I'm like, you're changing things up. So I'm not sure what it is that's kind of holding off their audience and why it's kind of like taking a damper, but it's what it is. I'm sure they got a spike in ratings for AEW Dynasty, the footage. I'm sure people were going to watch that because of obviously what the curiosity was going to be. I don't think what AEW did tonight was embarrassing. Let's just put it like that as well. Just going to say that too. So Roxanne Perez takes care of Indy Hartwell. Done. Okay. And then Sami Zayn and Chad Gable work out with each other. That's okay. WWE decides to go and do the draft coming up. They're going to set that up April 26th, April 29th. Okay. And then Gable and Zayn are going to take on each other in Montreal. So Zayn's first Intercontinental Championship defense will be in front of his home crowd of Montreal next week. Great. Drew McIntyre comes out, makes his whole setup. And CM Punk, obviously they put so much into this and they're just frothing at the mouth to get this feud going. And I can't wait for it. Cannot wait. It's great. It's set up very well. So I give all the credit to that. Listen, WWE, for what they did, they're set up right now. So you're going to go with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Cody, we don't know who this next opponent's going to be. We already know that we have Jey Uso now in line to go and take on Damian Priest. Okay. And then we'll see what they're going to do on SmackDown. But like I said, we're already getting things started up. They got the show in France coming up, and they need to get set for it. So good on it. We haven't seen Gunther yet. There's a whole lot of stuff they need to go and build back up to find out what they're going to do. And also, we got to see what the draft's going to flesh out and what they're going to do with that. So WrestleMania has their hangover right now. We need to kind of live off of that. Let them take some time to go ahead and kind of breathe once again after all that setup. And then we move along and see what they do next. Fine with all that. I'm fine with all that they're going to do right there. Good setup. I talked about Dynamite already. Adam Copeland and Penta had a great match to start off. Adam Copeland continues to win. Hold on to the TNT title. I love the setup for Julia Hart and Willow Nightingale. I think Julia Hart is just doing stand-up good job right now. And I know we got more with House of Black dealing with Adam Copeland. We got to work out how that's going to work out. The Tony Storm Charleston Championship champagne toast. That was hilarious. By the time you say the name of the segment, it was done because then Tony Storm just throws champagne at Thunder Rosa's face and attacks her. Fucking incredible. That was hilarious. Hilarious. That was funny. I love that they decided to go and do that. That was pretty funny. They set up Mercedes Moné. Like I said, we'll see what's going to go on with that. And Samoa Joe beats Dustin Rhodes. And then Swerve Strickland still comes out and attacks Samoa Joe. So they're again, obviously getting all set up for that match. Dynasty looks good for this coming in about a week and a half. And their matches all set up. TNA has Rebellion coming up in a week and a half on Saturday. The 20th, right? Let me get this all set. All right, so Rebellion, April the 20th, 420, Rebellion's coming out. They got a whole lot of matches all set up. Your TNA World Heavyweight Championship is Moose defending against Nick Nemeth. The Systems, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers will defend the World Tag Team titles against Speedball Mountain, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Trent Seven. You got Jordan Grace against Steph DeLander, who's accompanying Matt Cardona to the ring, or Matt Cardona is accompanying her, and that's going to be for the Knockouts World title. Mustafa Ali against Jake Something for the TNA X Division title. Full Metal Mayhem match with Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. And Josh Alexander against Alexander Hammerstone. We'll get those guys again. By the way, I've been watching TNA again, and I do like how they're setting it up. Like the new look of the show, the feel of it, you know, it's still, they kind of like the show it is what it is, but I like the lineup they have, the stars they have right now, and like so far so good. Like, I mean, I think they haven't really deviated too much of what Scott D'Amore's been doing. Like the booking's been fine. Obviously, I know it's Tommy Dreamer that's doing it, and everything so far has been so good. I can't complain about that. So looking forward to that. That's again Saturday night, April the 20th. We'll do a post show with that after the event right here, kingofpodcasts.com. And then AEW Dynasty on the 21st, St. Louis, AEW World Title, Samoa Joe against Swerve Strickland, Bryan Danielson against Will Ospreay, Julia Hart and Will Nightingale for the TBS title, and then Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe against the House of Black. That looks great. AEW World Tag Team Championship Final, Young Bucks against FTR, match 3 on their best of, especially here for the belts. And then you got Toni Storm against Thunder Rosa for the Women's World Title, and Kazuchika Okada against Pac, all set up for that too. And we also see that they have a Battle of the Belts coming up after Rampage, and Hook will defend the FTW title against Shane Taylor. They're going to set up for that. So we're all set with that. Anyway, that's my rant for tonight. I don't want to go much farther than that. I'm sure other people can do the same thing and kind of like go and, you know, rant and rave about all this. But hey, man, you know, I don't lose anything from making my comments tonight and how I feel about how everything is and how everything stands out. I want to just enjoy wrestling everybody else. But I'm also going to call out the hypocrisy of some of the fans out there and some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren and media for saying what they're going to say. You know, I guess I'm just too old to go and just be caught up in the bullshit and the social media, you know, tirade and all this stuff, the tribalism. I'm not just not into it. It's just not for me. I don't care. Anyway, that's the show for the night. So I hope you get a chance. If you get a chance to go and do so, make sure to go and listen to my WrestleMania coverage. Both nights, kingofpodcasts.com. You can also find my social media. And we'll come back in about 7 days. We'll do another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.